Okay, today I'll be talking about capsule, but the context of why this is such an important topic for modularity and this summit in general is because as we increase the surface area of chains, we actually end up with more problems. And so this is where transaction signing infrastructure becomes really relevant. Next slide. Oh, wait, there's a slide before that, no? Keep going back. Back. There we go. Okay, cool. Next slide. Perfect. Okay, so congratulations, we did it. Turn to your neighbor and give them a pat on the back because hell yeah, we're on our path to solve the scalability trilemma, which was necessary to solve for so-called mainstream adoption. So yay, we're on the path there. But because of this, we've actually introduced a bunch of new problems that hinder potential mainstream adoption. So that's kind of what I'm here to talk about today. Next slide. Thank you. So here's what MetaMask looks like today. Managing a bunch of tokens, managing a bunch of networks. It's a very complex flow to sign transactions. Next slide. Assets are basically everywhere, and essentially as chains, the number of chains grow, this problem gets much worse. Next slide. And so, yeah, I've been thinking about blockchains in general since 2017, started my journey at Consensus, had a stint at the Graph, was recently at Celestia, and then ended up joining Nitya, the founder of Capsule, to think about this problem because I was kind of observing that there needed to be a better way to manage transactions across all these chains. So more into that on the next slide. So here's what we know about the path to mainstream adoption. Of course, there's more steps on this. It should say 1, 2, 3, but yeah, it's fine. Yeah, there's probably more steps on here, but for all of us, the steps to mainstream adoption are: 1, we know we have to separate out execution from the L1 to just scale better. 2, we have to create more compelling applications to bring people into crypto. And then somewhere in the middle, we need to profit, hopefully. Next slide. And so if we think about this in the framework of 3 product categories: applications, wallets, and chains, we actually end up seeing something super interesting. Next slide. Yep, perfect. There you go. Perfect. We've successfully added more chains to the spectrum and protocols because we've obviously been thinking about scalability a lot for the past 3 years, to the point that we've created more and more block space and created more forms of execution like alt VMs, ZK VMs, et cetera. So this side of the space is kind of teeming with activity. Next slide. Next. There you go. Also, we know on the other side of the space, applications, we've seen a fair amount of activity there. So we're somewhat there in terms of mainstream adoption with apps like OpenSea, Zora, Rabbit Hole, Lens. But frankly, it's been a challenge to see a lot of mainstream people use these applications outside of things like airdrop farming. And so what gives? Next slide. Oh, yeah, go back. Yeah. The capsule thesis is that solving for mainstream adoption is not just about creating more compelling applications. I think this is a very prevalent narrative on Twitter today where people are like, devs should be building better applications and use cases suck. But we actually think that's a misguided take. And the problem is, of course, innovating more at the application layer, but it's also managing the transacting experience across this wide surface area of block space we've created over the past 3 years. And so the key to that is the wallet layer. Next slide. Everyone should just like take a moment to cringe, because I know like wallets are just like overdone and over talked about. So like let's just take a moment to like accept that. And yeah, it's the reason why it's been so exhausting to talk about wallets is because we've thoroughly like just exhausted our mental space for wallets in general. And I'll kind of explain why that is in the next slide. There we go. So the reason why is that over the past few years, we've innovated a ton at the UI layer, but not on the fundamental transacting layer. So this is MetaMask, Rainbow, Phantom, kind of represents like 2018 to 2019, 2020, 2021. You could see that the UIs look pretty different, but the actual experience of doing things on chain still stays relatively the same. So you still need a human in the loop. You still need to switch a bunch of networks. You still need to sign transactions or messages transact. You also have to like inspect the transaction to make sure you're not signing anything jank. And so it's still very much the same as far as like third-party wallet applications go. Next slide. There's also been a lot of innovation at the embedded wallet side of the space. So this is like Coinbase Wallet, Circle, Magic Link, Web3 Auth. There's a bunch of players. I think Engine as well is in the space. But this like wallet as a service product category is also pretty exhausting. And the reason why is you get this like clean experience of not having to deal with signing messages and signing transactions in the middle of your application's experience. But as soon as you want to take your wallet and go elsewhere, so Celestia talks a lot about this, exiting with interoperability. It's very, very difficult. So these are the steps you have to go through to actually take an asset from an embedded wallet and actually import that into MetaMask and then list that asset on OpenSea, for example. There's a lot of steps, and so that's also very confusing and exhausting and bad. Next slide. The third way we've exhausted ourselves is with third-party app building wallets. So if you think about this, it's like Uniswap building a wallet or Robinhood building a wallet. This is awesome and actually works a lot in favor for the application. So the app now has full control over their end user experience. They no longer have to go through like a MetaMask. They can just go through Uniswap wallet. But it now requires Hayden and the team to fight the good fight with giants like Apple on App Store policies and making sure the app doesn't get delayed and kind of growing their user base from zero, which is a really tough thing to do. Next slide. And so you can see why we're kind of exhausted of wallets and this market in general. And at a high level, this is where this layout is kind of where all these products sit. It's crowded, it's confusing, it's not perfect. And there's an obvious gap of needing ways to transact that are embedded and don't require like leveraging a third-party app like a MetaMask in the middle, but also managing the signing and switching networks and making sure that you can take your keys and kind of go elsewhere and take your assets elsewhere as well. And so the crazy thing is that this is what this market looks like for just a single chain. So just within this like single chain paradigm, you have all these options. And so as block space surface area increases, Mo chains. No problems. There we go. Yeah, you guys didn't say that. Mo chains, no problems. There we go. Yeah, participate. Take two. And so next slide. Oh, yeah, there we go. So so in a world where thanks to modularity and better scaling, wallets as standalone products are constant RPC endpoints. Always switching network in the middle of your flow and just shifting the user friction, which was once on the infrastructure side of things, down to applications, which is not good. And so next slide. And so this gets, keep clicking, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go, now we're done. So this gets 1,000 times worse. So this is just a couple of examples of L2s or networks that have shipped recently. So there's like the Public Goods Network, Zora Network, Base, Claros also shipped recently. And so as we keep increasing the number of chains we're transacting with, you kind of need a better way to manage the transacting experience and the intention to transact in a clean way without making user experience really bad. Next slide. And so our core insight is, forget the wallet. I think wallet as standalone products are really, really tough, and instead focus on the ability to natively transact. So in a world with Mo chains, more problems, having a third-party app like a wallet just adds to the confusion. And so if you have a native way to transact within the application or the product, you remove the ability, the need to kind of switch between signing things and also needing to kind of have a browser extension to transact. Next slide. Yeah. So this is kind of how Capsule thinks about it, and we'll go through a demo as well. We basically add a notion of, the image is a little messed up, but that's okay. We add in a notion of permissions into this experience. So by permissions, we remove the discrete proposing, signing, and inspecting of transactions that need to happen in today's kind of transacting paradigm. And so how we do this is we take MPC-based key management, and we wrap it with a permissions engine. So no more pop-up switching networks, but you also get the interoperability benefits of wallets by being able to take your keys everywhere. So functionally, next slide. Yeah, functionally what this looks like is a developer tool. You can click again. It changes color. Yeah. Functionally, yeah, right? Functionally, what this looks like is a developer tool with a single sign-on experience. So this means theoretically a user could onboard onto an EVM-specific application and then one-click onboard into a Cosmos wallet, which removes the need for the Cosmos wallet to acquire new users and also get users to bridge through the friction of going into a new ecosystem. And so we think this design kind of drives network effects by not only simplifying the customer acquisition process, but also the user's transacting experiences. Next slide. And so this is a demo. I'm not sure if it's going to work. Click again. OK, great. So what we're doing here is, again, the single sign-on experience of creating a wallet. We could do email, phone number, WhatsApp, whatever you want. We verify that with a 6-digit code. Oh, did that work? I guess we'll do it again. OK, that's fine. Next slide. Anyway, the point of the demo is you can log in with any form of auth, leverage hardware enclaves to transact, and also simplify the user's transacting experience with this concept of permissions, which the demo should show you. Next slide. No? Oh. OK, maybe that was not on me. That's fine. No? Just go to the last slide. Previous. No, previous. Yep, OK. So the takeaway, ideally post the demo, which I can send to everyone here if you're interested, is wallets aren't the problem. Our mental model of how data is written to the chain is the problem. In a world where we have tons of chains, users should not know, ideally in my opinion, and won't know what chain they're transacting on. And in order to live in that world, you probably need a new paradigm of writing data to the chain and transacting. And ideally, the last bullet, this doesn't just create more and more silos and walled gardens. This is created in an interoperable way where you have a broader abstraction layer that can manage this transacting surface area. Next slide. Yeah, so that's a bit about me if you want to get in touch. And yeah, feel free to reach out if you want to see the demo properly. Thank you so much.
You want to take some questions, maybe?
You want to stay up for questions?
Yeah, I do questions. Wait, are we on?
No, you have time. You have time. Yeah.
I have 8 minutes. Oh wow. Yeah. Okay. You want to come up for? You're not going to? No. Okay. Yeah. Any questions? Hello. Yes.
Does it support Wallet Connect?
Yes, we're in the process of integrating with Wallet Connect. Yeah, wallet aggregators are key to how this interoperability works, but generally you should be able to take your keys and go everywhere, and so that's kind of how we think about it. Yeah. And we're in private beta right now. I don't know if that was clear. Yes.
If the user says like they're using an email and then want to like eject to like a private key, is something like that possible?
Yeah, this has come up a lot. We're actually working on this right now. Having the ability to eject and also go elsewhere is extremely important, and whether that's MPC to EOA or other things is kind of on our roadmap as well. Yeah.
Can I swap like different like auth methods?
Yes. So I think phone number, Apple, WhatsApp, whatever you want. It's pretty trivial for us to add. Wow. Yeah. Yes.
So if there's more chains,
Yes.
are there more problems?
Well, ideally, if you're able to manage all of this like intention to transact in a clean abstraction layer that doesn't involve the like Vitalik's post of like my ETH is all over the place and I have no way of like unifying the networks that the ETH is on, that's the intention, and that's what Capsule does. Yeah. Cool. Hey. All right, I think we're done. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Aditi.